Nehemiah 9 verse 2.
And the descendants of Israel separated themselves from all foreigners, and stood and confessed their sins and the crookedness of their fathers.
They confessed their sins and the crookednesses of their fathers. Then Daniel 9 verse 8. Daniel was a very righteous man. Daniel 9 verse 8.
O Master, to us in the shame of face, to our sovereigns, to our heads, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against you.
So you can read this whole chapter. Daniel is praying, and he is indeed confessing his sins, which I assume were pretty few in number. He was a very righteous man. But still, he says, we have sinned. He does realize he too is a sinner. But he also confesses the sins of the sovereigns, of the rulers. So it's okay, if you know that your king, your president, your minister, your mayor, or whoever is in authority commits sin, well, it's Yahweh appreciates it if you confess also their sins, and also his fathers. So also he confessed that his fathers had sinned, forefathers, his ancestors were sinners. Why? Why is it not enough to just confess your own sins? Why also confess the sins of your fathers, your father, your mother, grandparents, ancestors? Well, if you don't confess them, you will probably not see them. You will not realize that certain aspects of your educations were wrong. You will continue to repeat their sins. So it's important that you really evaluate, once you're an adult, you evaluate also the past, your upbringing. You can compare how you were raised as a child, as a young man or young woman, girl, how you were raised, and you check, well, was all of this scriptural? I take it for granted. I assume it's right, but is it really? If you find out that certain aspects were not according to Yahweh's will, then please confess it. Confess also the errors, the mistakes, the sins of your fathers, of your parents, grandparents. Conclusion. We're almost there. Conclusion. To summarize what we saw in those two sermons. For children living at home with their parents, honoring father and mother simply means obeying them. Except, of course, if that would be contrary to Yahweh's law. By the way, I don't think that Yahweh would hold a 5-year-old responsible for comparing his parents' instructions with Torah. This would be applicable only to older children, I would say. As we just read, a father has the authority to annul the vows of his daughter. After marriage, this changes. Man and woman should leave their parents and become one. Nowhere do we read that we have to become one with our parents, do we? But we must become one with our spouse. The father has no authority to annul vows of his daughter anymore. But her husband now has this authority. Adult children should usually still follow the ways that they learned from their parents, but only if this is in line with Yahweh's law. Adult children are responsible for their own decisions. They should love and obey Yahweh more than their parents. Children who see their parents sinning have the responsibility to correct them, to plead with them, to restore them to Yahweh's ways. If I may say, I would say especially if they are also in the faith, especially in that case. Is there anyone among us who would like to hear, who would be in the first resurrection? And then Yahshua would say, you know what? Your mother is not here. You know why? You never told her anything. You knew and you didn't tell. She might have repented had you told her. Or your father, or your grandfather, or whoever. It's our responsibility. Whoever we have a close relationship with, we must correct them if we see that they are going astray. Gently, in an attitude of humility. Adult children also have the responsibility to confess their own sins, as well as the sins of their parents and grandparents.